Buenos días, Eagle Valley, y bienvenidos a EVTV. Yo soy Xochitl Villaseñor.
Y yo soy Alondra Escobar. Hoy tenemos un episodio muy interesante para ustedes.
Hey, what's going on? I don't understand you guys.
That's the point. This episode is in Spanish.
Why?
To be multicultural inclusive in our community. Our school has more than 750 students in our school, 45% Caucasians and 50% Hispanics and 5% other. Hablando de nuestra escuela, Alondra, ¿tú sabes los beneficios de una comunidad diversa?
No tanto, pero sé que nuestra comunidad es una. Vamos con Caquea Caballero para más información.
Looking down Legacy Hall, it's clear to see the change in population and diversity. But why is that important?
I would say we have two large populations, one being Caucasian and the other being Hispanic, with a few African American, Asian American students, and miscellaneous. The two large populations, I would estimate, are probably pretty close, just below 50% each.
Not only does our diverse population represent our school, but it represents our community and our respect towards one another.
I think that we are in a very unique position as far as being able to integrate two cultures. I think that we live in this bubble of harmony that the rest of the country could really look as a model for how two different cultures look at as a model for how two different cultures can coexist and appreciate each other.
In my opinion, I think we are a reflection of our community, and one of the things I'm most proud about for our student body is kids get along with each other regardless of their backgrounds. You do have a lot of kids that tend to gel together if they have common interests like sport or activity or something that they're really interested in. Maybe it's gaming.
Our school and county hasn't always been so culturally diverse, but what impact does that have on our students?
We were very sheltered. We didn't really have an idea of what other cultures or whatever other types of people there were in the world. I felt somewhat naive as far as different types of people, and I think there's been a lot of progress in this valley as far as social norms and accepting different types of people and different types of cultures.
Our school and community represents something so much larger than ourselves, and it impacts our future greatly.
I think it allows students to live in a world that is becoming more and more diverse and more integrated, with the ability to fly around the world very easily and travel and interact with different cultures. I think it's important that kids are learning about other cultures, although we still don't have all cultures here. I think for a small little mountain community, we are definitely reflective. I also think it helps our students as they work in the community with tourists that come to town or with people that are working within our community, both here and up towards the ski resort.
Being immersed in a culturally diverse school opens up doors for our future and makes a larger impact than we realize. This has been Caquea Caballero with EVTV. Back to you in the studio.
Wow, no pensé que serían tantos beneficios. Espero que nuestra escuela aprenda de esto.
Tu lenguaje es parte de quién eres tú como persona. ¿No crees, Alondra?
Claro que sí. Para hablar más de esto, vamos con Cici Solís.
Language is everywhere. Seriously, there's approximately 65,000 spoken languages in our world. With that logic, there's no way that a person will only listen to just one language in their lifetime, especially in a school like Eagle Valley. EVTV is here to show our student body the importance of language.
You are trying to learn another language. You are honoring the other culture, because language is not just about one symbol for another word. It's about understanding another way of thinking about the world. And when you meet somebody halfway, it opens the doors to more communication.
Language is not the only difference in our community. In fact, it's one of many differences. Take culture, for example.
Well, I think there's more than one culture in Eagle County. I see 3 or 4, and that's just with my limited experience with Eagle County, and I've been here for well over 15 years. But basically we have an English-speaking population and we have a Spanish-speaking population, but we also have other cultures. I've had Cantonese and people from European countries, and they bring with them the richness from their culture and their first language, and I do see barriers to communication when someone doesn't know the other person's language. And I think that anytime that you're willing to look at another culture and experience another culture and step into like a dance that's very different from something you might naturally be drawn to, you're going to see that there are many ways to enjoy life. You are starting to immerse yourself into another culture.
Culture plays a large part in what makes Eagle Valley a diverse location.
For students to begin to reach out to a culture that they might someday live in or work in.
This has been Cici Soles. De vuelta a ti en el estudio.
¿Sabes qué chido será saber más de 2 lenguajes?
Pienso que sería muy kuro. Para los que no saben lo que significa esa palabra, it's cool en japonés. Ahora nos vamos con Tanner Calderola y Rosandel.
Language is heard within our daily lives from normal conversation to class and from surroundings. Students are encouraged to take 2 years of foreign language because of the many benefits.
Great for kids. There's data that shows that their test scores are higher when they speak 2 languages. Of course, you're going to get the better job being bilingual. It opens your world to other cultures. When you travel, you're going to enjoy yourself more, being able to communicate.
While many students are taking classes to learn another language, some have grown up with it.
I speak English, Spanish, and Nepalese.
Spanish and English.
I speak Spanish, English, and French.
While these students are still sitting in on language classes, they know the importance of being immersed in a culture to truly know and understand the language.
I think I started with Spanish because I was always around my mom when I was little, but I started learning both, so I kind of speak a mix of both of them.
Kind of just like grew up with it because my dad's French.
Nepalese, it was sort of a cultural thing. At home, you would always just hear it. Well, I would always just hear it, and so.
Even the teachers who teach it agree that language is best learned through immersion.
Classroom really does kind of suck, to be honest, because you're there for 50 minutes and there's a whole bunch of kids and you're doing a book activity or you're talking for just a couple minutes, whereas when you're in a country, you're speaking it, but you're also walking around and having fun and looking at sights and meeting people and making friends and hearing it all over the place, and it's much more enjoyable and it is a much better experience and easier to learn when you are in the country than sitting in a classroom.
Just absorb it. It's not like I went to a class for it. Just being around the language really helped.
But don't worry, just because you didn't grow up in a multilingual household doesn't mean you can't have any of the benefits it provides. Look out for opportunities to go on a study abroad or language immersion trip. This has been Rose Sandell. Back to you in the studio.
It's so cool to be part of a community that is multilingual and know that we're all part of it.
El valor del lenguaje es muy importante para muchas personas.
El siguiente segmento que tenemos es cómo hablar de diverso. Vamos con Alondra Escobar con más. Wait, Alondra, you're supposed to be out there.
I gotta zoom.
Good luck.
These days, a lot of people are scared to talk about diversity or don't even know how to for reasons like offending someone or talking about a sensitive subject or being portrayed as a racist. But really, diversity isn't even about that.
I think diversity is the inclusion and acceptance of people with people with disabilities, different sexualities, different genders, races, ethnic backgrounds, that sort of thing.
Diversity isn't even something to be afraid of. Seriously, recognizing someone's differences is way better than ignoring them. Plus, it helps our community become a safer space.
We all have differences, but instead we shouldn't let that, make it divide us, but rather unite us, It should help us create a stronger community and say that, we're all different, but here we are as a community standing up for what we believe in.
So, how can you talk about diversity in a safer, inclusive way? According to our experts, the most important thing is to have an open mind.
When talking about identities, I think it's always important to start with I statements. So, making sure that you're sharing your opinion so that people aren't feeling attacked, right? So, and also just have an open mind. So when you're speaking on issues of diversity, taking the time to also sit back and not just, maybe be adamant about your opinions, but also have an open mind when speaking about these issues.
I think we can talk about it really openly and like try to accept everybody and, you know, listen to different people's opinions even if we don't agree with them, but still have constructive but not damaging, you know, conversations about it.
I think that first of all, it's important to know that when you're talking about diversity, we can all be harmful. And so to be mindful of how you could be harmful is to think about things before you say them as best you can, but also know that if you're entering into a conversation about diversity, you're human too, and there's going to be fumbles along the way in these conversations. It's a learning process.
I think it's important to challenge people on issues of diversity, but in a way that's respectful. So using appropriate language and not attacking others.
So just because you think you know something about somebody or somebody's culture, you don't assume, you ask, you come at it at a curious place.
You have to show them that you have good intentions and that you're just trying to help out your community. But if you do end up offending someone and someone, you know, tells you that, you should probably take that in mind and see how you can, I don't know, change, I guess, your vocabulary or your actions so you can still help the community without hurting others.
Diversity is something that we need to be able to talk about to make our community a safer and inclusive space. As the great Biggie once sang, so, if you don't know, now you know. Back to you in the studio.
¿Tan pronto?
No es tan difícil para hablar de diverso.
Es todo lo que tenemos para ustedes hoy.
Nos vemos la próxima semana en
EVTV.